YouTube, welcome to an Upside DIY video. I kind of want to really re-edit this part of my build. I showed you guys kind of like the pieces and explained about the table that was going to go over here. And it's kind of like the white pieces in front of my fish tanks that I keep tripping over. But right here, this is for the ladder. At first, I want to edit videos and things to have everything at one spot, but I basically had to manage finding the right angle for the ladder, because when it's assembled, it's going to be at 90 degrees. And I'm making it out 2x6, but the rails are 2x4s. So basically, I've got these 2x6s. I originally freehanded the first cut. You know, I basically marked out the angle where the ladder rail is, and I kind of marked out the angles, and basically I trimmed up the length of all these pieces. I have probably 6 of them, so they're all pretty much the same length. And this basically, the first cut was at, was a freehand. I kind of wanted to make sure that the angle was pretty good. It still seems not that great. I might have to really test. I mean, there's always a little problem if you're always not sure. But basically, I'm gonna have to go and review a lot of things with this piece and actually measure it to the pieces in the closet and try to mark up and see where the lines are. As I mentioned, this build is going to be piece by piece, but having measured, if this piece was straight, like my first cut, I just used the straightest piece of wood that I could, get, and that's how bad. And basically try to line it up to where I cut. And basically, it was a little bit off, in a certain area. So then I decided to make this rail. It's just held on. I kind of measured like the distance on the saw to the rail. I kind of used this tooth right here and this side of the saw to measure. So it's around four something. It's not inches. It's around 2 inches, but it's and right now I could measure how straight it is, and it's pretty straight. I mean, it's not like perfect, but that's just from the prior cut or something. But I was really concerned about the saw housing butting up against this this rail. It can happen. So what I did was, without the rail, I just held the saw up at the angle, and then I just basically I changed the angle of the saw because the first cut was kind of off, and I shouldn't have done that, but I did it because I showed how to, you know, adjust the saw blade, but the saw blade angle from the line. I'm gonna have to try to do that again. I might even but yeah. So I'm just kind of showing you guys the second part to this this skill saw cut. Having this rail made a straighter line, and it basically made a cut that a table saw would be needed for. And instead of, you know, not instead of, but if you can't, you know, use a table saw, you just gotta DIY the a rail, and not really risk freehanding a lot of these cuts. Some straight cuts are okay. You know, if it's kind of like the width and then it's a short line, you can follow the line and it should be okay with you know, with the right mark. So I'm gonna basically with this table saw, it's jig, it's basically you know, a 4x4, and I use another 4x4 underneath the weight, and then underneath where most of the weight is, and then I could stand on this, and then I use screws to hold down the pieces. People, you know, don't need this. That's one of the requirements for this type of adapter. With the table saw, it's a lot different. You get a piece of wood and you know, basically watch your fingers and push the whole thing, push the piece through the saw blade. But this jig worked out pretty good. Basically, it's I've got, you know, one for two sides, so I can make two cuts at a time, and then basically after I make a cut, I got to turn it to the other side of the piece, and then I should be able to you know, finish off the piece and you know, go on to the next thing. But how these 2x6s are held is just, I had 3 screws initially, 3 holes, but I kind of paid attention to kind of like the edge of the jig, and then just make sure the blade doesn't hit that, and basically just held it down with 2 screws. And I could probably, so, and also my skill saw, the blade or the angle is only adjusted towards one side. So to make something like this, I would actually, or to make this cut, I might have to you know, basically put this on this other side, or basically, or yeah, or if I wanted to use this side, just turn this around, and then yeah, just line up the blade type stuff. And this is kind of like another part of the jig where it's not like totally squared or leveled to the, but it was lined up to a line that that I marked on the piece. So what I'm going to do is be able to take this off, and then go and measure out measure it to the rail pieces that I have in the closet. So this is basically my table saw angle. So I left the screws in here for the next piece that's going to be put on this side, and here's the rail. So I'm going to take that off and just display All it's missing is a 4x4 that goes underneath on the side that that needs to be positioned just to support it. And on this side, it's basically over like a step, or even another 4x4 could be fit or could be positioned underneath, and then you could kind of step on that and hold down the whole project. So basically, this is the jig, and it works compared to the other jig that didn't really work. And it's hard to really adapt that to any other builds, because I kind of made it into like a 6x6, and but it's 2x4 in some areas. So basically, I got this piece, and how the saw angle is, it's basically from 1 to 6 o'clock. So I actually got to mark it on the other side. That's what I've been doing with this piece, and basically the angle is going to be like coming this way, and then I could put it onto the board and do the same thing, add the rail. I should have made sure I could have you know, kind of lined the rail screws with the bottom, so I could use the same holes for either the top and the bottom. So I might have to try to figure that, but I just want to show you guys the overall, you know, yeah, like even on this side, I can't really line it up right. So I might have to improvise on this but that's pretty much the pieces. And then after that, you could fill these up with wood glue and paint it. Or, you know, try to put a lot of paint in there, and hopefully it's a good piece to finish. And this little corner piece, I've got to try to sand it off or saw it off. Having a small saw is pretty good too. So yeah, I just will probably, I'm just gonna basically you know, call this video you know, the table saw jig. It was a little bit hard to really make out, because you know, getting you know, getting the right marks, or getting the right measurements, and then even angling the saw blade had to be pretty perfect. And then I wasted a little time on not having this rail, or even worrying about, you know, the saw hitting the rail. But it worked out okay. And then I made one cut that was a little bit off, and it might still be off. I gotta kind of line up these things. But once it's you know, it's done, it's like, you know, you're at the next level, and making, you know, what you can with what you have. And that's just pretty much what I'm doing for now. It's kind of hard. It's a lot of thinking and you know, organizing. But I get to kind of share my ideas, I guess, and have the knowledge to make make it happen for cheap for myself. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day, and hopefully everybody's doing good. Thanks for watching. Bye.